Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm trichologist Lisa Ackberry, your hair doctor, and I have a very special show for you today. Few little technical difficulties, so kind of a little late getting on the air, but I'm here live. Yes, I am, but I am not live in the WDA studios. As you can see behind me, I am working here from New York. So you can see right outside my window, you can see the Hershey's Kisses building. I'm right here in Times Square. It's been a great day today. I'm here just talking to you about hair. We're going to talk about a lot of things, but I've got my hair pulled back. We're going to open up the show to with you. I hope you guys can see me. There's a glare behind me, but I love Times Square because there's so much going on, and you see all the lights. This is right outside my right in my hotel window. You can see all this going on. But anyways, I'm here live. I'm working here from New York with the show, and I am here bringing to you all these wonderful things that are going to be happening with my hair in New York. Well, I've been out. It was rainy on yesterday, and on today it's sunny, as you can see behind me, and as you see the Hershey's Kisses building and all of it's just, oh wow, it's light. It's really, and I actually sleep with my window open so that I can see all of this neon light. But anyway, let's get back to the show. You came here today to hear about hair. And we're going to talk about that. I've got some great things under the celebrity news. We're going to talk about Brandy and no more fake hair for Brandy. You remember Brandy, don't you? I know you guys do. And then we're going to talk about Kristen Davis, who speaks out about her hair thinning. Yeah, you remember her as well. Like, she was on several shows. Those what is those New York shows? Those girlfriend shows that come on with New York, and there's some other folks there. But anyway, Kristen Davis speaks out about her hair loss and thinning. And then we're going to talk about something that people have asked me a lot about: perimenopausal and hair loss, and then menopausal and hair loss, and some of the various treatments, some of the articles that have been written on them, and then some of the 5 things that women should know about hair loss as it relates to perimenopausal and approaching menopausal. We just want to talk about some of the horrors of hair loss, thinking about how it affects women in general. Hormonal hair loss, all of this falls under that umbrella, because we have to be careful and noticing what's real and what's not, and some of the things we need to watch for. So live here from New York City, I'm here working with you, talking to you about hair. We're here doing the show right here live. And so my phone lines are not open, but my chat room is open. And so you can chat with me if you have a question for me. Hoping you guys have a good, there we go. So we have better light. See if I can get, it's like on and off. There we go. I think that's a little bit better. So let's take my hair down first. And I'm using this particular headband, and I'm going to, because as you can see, I'm dressed to kind of go out on the streets of New York. And let's get this. I'm going to do just a little. And those of you on the radio, I know that you can't see me, but you can always go to my YouTube page. And I don't have any makeup on, guys. So I'm looking a little, and you hear my little twisties. I'm looking a little, not pale. I have such brown skin, so definitely not pale, but a little plain. I'll say that. So now you can see my hair up in this puff. I'm going to wear like an Afro puff today. There we go. And you can kind of see through it because of the lights. There we are. There we are. There we are. There it is. Okay. All right. So let's see if I can get a better light on me. But if you're just tuning in for the very first time, welcome to the show. I'm trichologist Lisa Ackberry. And for the next really 45 minutes or so, I'm going to be your hair doctor. Let's see if we can get this up a little higher. Now that would be super duper duper, because that would give us such great light. And let's see if we can do it that way. I'm just going to move my computer around. Don't you just love technology? You can do a lot with it, but sometimes, just sometimes, yeah, I don't know if that's going to be stable, but we're sure going to try it. There we go. It looks kind of sort of stable. Okay, so now you can see behind me all of New York and Broadway, and that's where we are right here. Okay, so in Times Square. All right, so now let's see. Let's get to our first topic. We want to talk about, I mentioned Brandy, the celebrity. Let's get that kind of behind us. And then we want to get into perimenopausal and hair loss and menopausal and hair loss. I've had some requests for that, so I definitely want to do a show on that. But we want to talk about how Brandy um, talks about her fake hair and how she's getting away with it. It's like we caught Essence did a magazine, I mean, an article on this, and they caught up with Brandy and talked to her about her hair and her black girl magic and the iconic braids and so much more that she was talking about. She was just saying that one of the things in the article, it was like saying that black girl magic is an abundance of things, and it's a lot going on. There's no shortage of things to talk about as relates to black girl magic and the magic and all of that. But anyways, let's just kind of get to what was said and what she had to say. She said it's so different now because she's a lot older. You remember Brandy? She played in all these wonderful shows and she was just great. And she said it's about purpose and being a vessel. And I think that was really cool. She said she's consistently being used to inspire people, wake them up, and even just make them smile. She said she wanted to relate to people on a level that makes them feel like they can do just anything. And I thought that was nice as well, because it gets to a point in your life, and I know we want to talk about hair and that expression and how it makes you feel, but really a point in your life where you have to say, you know what, and what am I doing here? Whatever power that I've been given, am I going to bless someone? And that's why I do so much with hair, because I know that I've been given this gift and this power to explain and educate and help people. So I just want to do it. And so that's what I thought was pretty cool about her. So she says she used to have a lot of thoughts on how the music industry was evolving, but she really doesn't think about that anymore. Her focus is on putting life back into her music, and she wanted to stay honest and those kinds of things. And let's see if she talks what she says about her hair. And let's see, I think we've got some things here. Okay, she said in another space where she wanted to be super honest was in social media. And she said that, well, she's been fake a lot before. And she said those times she wanted to just kind of think about it and say, well, hey, I'm tired. She said something like, the fake phase is not one I'm in anymore. Wow, that's pretty cool. She says she loved being honest and keeping it real. And she wanted to stay grounded. And let's see. Oopsie, I don't want to get into any sound. So, this particular article was shared with me, but I wanted to get to this part where she said people are really going after braids and being natural, and she thought that that was really nice. So she felt like at this point, as a Black woman, you should embrace your hair, your natural hair, no more being fake. And this is Brandy's take on it. And I think people are pretty much caught up with that. But I mean, I think it's always nice to hear a celebrity decide on this. So she pretty much wears braids. That's what her thing is now. So, I mean, some people will say and criticize that that's fake. But one of the things I want to get to is that braids, yeah, it's an expression. It's a style option. And it's a low maintenance style, not zero. And so that's my part. It's wonderful that we look at these braids, and her braids are beautiful. And she wears them like this, the micro, and then she wears the larger ones. And let's just kind of talk about the goddess braids. Let's talk a little bit about that for a minute. We just want to make sure that if she's going to wear braids, and if you're going to choose to wear braids like Brandy, then, and there's so many that are wearing braids, it's not just Brandy, then you want to make sure you have a good braid program. So you can go on my website at lisaackberry.com, and you will be able to see just what I offer in the way of braid programs. But the thing that you want to remember, if you want, that'll help you to make it a lot easier. But things you want to remember is that you need to shampoo your braids at least once a week. You need to make sure you treat your hair that's under the braids every day. And the way you do that is by using leave-in conditioner, squeezing them into the braids. Don't think you can use like apple cider vinegar, or you can use things like braid spray, and that's going to help. Or some people are using peroxide and alcohol and all this stuff, pouring in a sea breeze and pouring it down in their braids. That does not clean. That does not clean our hair. That just basically maybe stop an itch or something like that, but it does not clean our hair. So remember, so while we're trying to wear braids and be like Brandy or any other celebrity, or just be ourselves, then we want to make sure that we are actually taking care to make sure that we are taking care of our braids. Say good morning to Simply Christy and say thank you for doing this video. And then hers says good morning, ma'am. Well, good morning to you. Okay, so people are now tuning in. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I'm trichologist Lisa Ackberry, your hair doctor, and I'm not live here in the WDIA studios. I'm live in New York working, and I'm doing the show. So I'm working it. It's wonderful. And yeah, I see my little curl is here. Let's see if we can open that one up. Okay, but anyway, behind me, you can see New York. I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah, you see that little curl. And you can see out of my window, and I'm just, my hair is doing great here. The weather here is more like fall. It's not it's summer like it is in Memphis. It's summer, but it's not as, how do I say it? It's not hot and humid. It's just really, yesterday was rainy. Today it's more like just nice and crisp, like a fall crisp morning. It was beautiful. Went for a nice little walk, and I'm here doing the show. So I'm working from New York. Yay. So I'm not, and I'll be next week, I'll be back in live in the WDA studios. All right. So we're here today talking about various things. We're talking about perimenopausal. We're talking about menopausal and hair loss. We're talking about so many things as it relates. Did a little celebrity with Brandy, and now she wanted to just you know, stay with the non-fake, but she's doing braids and with extensions. So maybe, I don't know. Main thing is she wants you as a Black woman, if you're a Black woman, or if you're a white woman, stay with your own natural hair. That's what she's saying. All right, so that was a little bit of celebrity with Brandy. All right, so next we're going to talk a little bit about, let's talk a little bit, another celebrity, and then we'll get right to our topic. Kristen Davis. She speaks out about hair thinning and, you know, got some tips from some experts, and I'm going to be one of the experts that I will give my little take on it. So I think that she just wanted to talk about hair loss in general. And y'all remember her. She was on the Girlfriend Show New York. That was interesting. And so she talked, so let's see if she has some problems with her hair loss. Okay, she said, it was Sex in the City. That's right. Yes, so she's another celebrity that's admitting that she suffers with hair loss and hair thinning, and she said that she just wanted to use it as an actress to just bring about awareness, and she hadn't been worried about it, and she has a daughter, but she wanted to make sure she just brought this awareness about. According to one of the dermatologists that she spoke with, hair loss is often trivialized, he said, and that is as if it's cosmetic, and this is very true. Hair is not life-threatening. You can survive without having hair, but really, hair loss is pretty traumatic situation for women and even men. So I think that I think what's happening now, more and more medical doctors are really allowing their patients to really just kind of mourn over the fact that they will lose hair, say if someone's going through chemotherapy or radiation, or if it's a certain medication, or if it's menopausal or perimenopausal, which we're going to go right into. So I think that it's great the more celebrities that talk about this. Really, more than anything, it's just it helps to bring about awareness. And we tend to listen to celebrities. What is that? But we do. We like to listen to them. So, which spins us right into our perimenopausal and menopausal state. And let's just kind of clarify what perimenopausal is. You know, where this period, it's a period right before, no pun intended, it's a time right before your menopausal state begins. And these are first, I know some of you, I have a tremendous amount of younger ladies who are subscribed to my YouTube page and are subscribed, who listen to my radio show from WDIA and iHeartRadio, but I also have some women who are suffering from perimenopausal and hair loss and menopausal hair loss. So we'll be right before menopausal begins, perimenopausal, and it can affect your hair. It can affect your hair texture. In other words, the thickness of the hair, which would mean that the hair is like, instead of being, say, medium or coarse or even fine, it begins thin. And thin is just where the diameter of that strand has just gotten so small that you're noticing that. But the other thing that you notice, you can feel that change. The other thing is the density and consistencies. That's the biggie. The density, the hairs per square inch begin to decrease in number. So you have less hair. So you have that kind of diffuse look, hair loss on your scalp. You notice, you can see that Christmas tree part, or you can see straight through your hair into your scalp area, and you see more scalp every year than you do hair, which is really, it's pretty traumatic on women, and you find all these ways to try to cover up. The follicle must be sensitive to this period of time in order for it to affect your scalp or your follicles. You have to understand it doesn't happen to every woman. Not everybody who goes through perimenopausal or menopausal will suffer with this kind of hair loss, but women who do suffer with this kind of hair loss is pretty traumatic. The follicle has to be sensitive to that, and it is strongly genetically linked. The follicle just is genetically programmed to just malfunction this way at a certain growth cycle. What happens as you get into perimenopausal and menopausal, your estrogen levels just begin to drop, and your testosterone levels begin to arise, and you get out of balance, and it can, not always, it can affect it's mainly due to the fact that your body's estrogen levels are dropping. Estrogen is so important in maintaining the growth phase of your hair's life cycle. But some women, as their estrogen levels drop, it's not affected. Their follicle's not affected. So a sudden drop in your estrogen levels can cause a shorter growth cycle with some women, and hair will shed quicker than it's actually than it should, or more in abundance. In other words, it will shed quickly, so it'll shed prematurely, but then that means it'll leave that follicle prematurely, and then at that point it's not recycling back to regrow. So now you have a follicle there that does not have a hair emerging from it. So this happens in year after year. More and more of that occurs as your estrogen levels will start to fluctuate and drop, and more testosterone. You start to have that imbalance, and that's when you can have a problem with hair loss. And again, we have to keep that in mind, that this is not all women. Now, the thing that you have to remember is you want to protect and preserve your scalp. So what I find with most women who are suffering from perimenopausal or menopausal hair loss, hormonal changes, in other words. I find that they have, in addition to that, they have other forms of hair loss. Like there are two categories of hair loss. One category of hair loss is want to be external. You've heard me speak about this before, which means you're losing hair because of skin and hair damage. The other category is going to be internal. That means your follicle is malfunctioning for some reason. Now, with perimenopausal and menopausal, that's an internal malfunctioning of the follicle. With hair breakage and certain types of alopecia that are more in the epidermis layers, that or blockages around the mouth of the follicle, then that's going to stem from more an external follicular problem. So some of the things you have to watch for is having this combination of hair loss. So if you have internal follicular loss and it's hormonal related, the way to know for sure is you can see your OBGYN or your gynecologist, but I absolutely recommend a endocrinologist. And the reason for that is because they'll be able to check various things within the body systems. And your MDs can, but your specialists will be able to give you that hormonal workup in addition to checking other autoimmune diseases that may occur within the body systems that could be causing hair loss. And they'll be able to give you medication to balance that. So I would recommend if we had to choose one practitioner or medical doctor, the one would be I would recommend a endocrinologist. And that would be my choice. And I know the first one you would want to run to would be your your OBGYN or your gynecologist, but I would over all of that because they can check hormonal and some other things relating to your body, but I would have my endocrinologist be the one because they can check so many areas. They're just outstanding when you have a really good one and one that's sensitive to women. Dr. Redmond is he's out of New York, right here from New York. It would be wonderful if I could go and see him while I'm here, but he is a endocrinologist, and he wrote a book called Wasn't Before the Change. I'm going to look that up, and then we're going to get that information because it's been a while since I've read his book, but I remember Dr. Redmond, and I'm sure that's his name. He wrote a book speaking about women and how some of the endocrinologists are not really sensitive to, let's see if I can get that. Oh, I don't multitask as well. But if you're just tuning in for the very first time, I'm trichologist Lisa Akbiri, your hair doctor. And for the next, we probably got about 35 minutes, I'm going to talk to you about your hair. And we're talking about perimenopausal and menopausal hair loss. I'm going to talk about his book here, Dr. Redmond. And I was just going to give you that information. So he did a book on hair loss with women. And I wanted to get specifically that name of his book. So let's see if we can find it. All right, so if you tune in the very first time, I'm here working live from New York. I am doing my show here, and I'm here just answering your questions. So you can, my phone lines are not open, but my chat room is open, and you're welcome to chat with me and ask whatever questions you have as it relates to your hair. But we wanted to, let's see if we can, I was trying to pull up Dr. Redmond's book because we're talking about perimenopausal and menopausal hair loss. And he has a book, one of the books that I would highly recommend, and it was by Dr. Susan Larkin, and it's called Before the Change. But Dr. Redmond has a book. He's an endocrinologist. And the reason why I'm fascinated with his work and his book is because Dr. Redmond was an endocrinologist that really decided that he was going to look further. And I think he had some other colleagues that helped him to understand how important it was to Yeah, well, I think this talks about his book. I think how important it was for him to really understand that women and their hormonal changes, they needed to have doctors to look at that a little bit closer. They needed them to understand that hair loss was very important when to women. Losing their hair was very important, and it's important to men, but it was just something that when you're dealing with medical doctors sometimes, and this is just something I'll say, that you have to kind of give them a break a little bit when it comes to hair loss. And I know that's crazy that you say that, but they're focused on your health. You're focused on your life and making sure that you don't, making sure that you live. It's your hormones. They're focused on making sure that you live, that you get better. Whatever disease within your body systems, they want to really focus on that. They're not as concerned about hair loss as they are concerned about your body getting healthier, your health. But what they now understanding is mental health is crucial to physical health. So it's really a big deal. But Dr. Redmond's book is called It's Your Hormones. Now, I highly recommend that book because Dr. Redmond he got it. And I'm going to post his book and his name. I think it's Dr. Jeffrey Redmond. I'm going to post his name here as well on my site. So, you guys, let's see. I've got some questions in. It's the name of the book is called "It's Your Hormone," and I'm going to quote that here and make sure. And I'm squinting a little bit, guys. Did y'all notice that? What's wrong? Do I need readers? Do I need glasses? What's going on? Okay, so if you're just tuning in for the very first time, I'm trichologist Lisa Ackberry. You're here, doctor, and we're here today. We're talking about your hair. We're talking about perimenopausal and menopausal and hair loss and just hair loss in general. It said, is it normal? Here's a question from my chat room, and it's from Blondie. She says, hi, Blondie. She says, is it normal to have to apply my shampoo to the scalp with the applicator bottle? My hair is very thick, so I have an issue with cleansing my scalp any other way. I think it's very normal, and it's the more hair you have, I think the goal is to get your hair and your scalp clean, and especially your scalp. So if you don't get your scalp clean, what's going to happen? You're going to end up with problems with your follicles, the mouth of the follicle becoming blocked, and you're going to end up with problems. You can end up with that external type of hair loss I was mentioning earlier. So you have to get your scalp clean. You're also going to, scalp is your foundation. You're going to also end up with problems with losing hair as it relates to the strand, because you won't be able to get your conditioners in. So you won't be able to get your conditioners in because your hair is not clean. So there's a lot of reasons why you must clean. So yes, if you cannot get to your hair, then you have two ways. You cannot get to your scalp because you have your density, your hairs per square inch are huge in numbers, and you have thick hair. Then you have two ways to do that. Number one, you want to make sure that the applicator bottle, that's good. You can do that. But the way that I would highly recommend is that you start with putting your shampoos on the ends of your hair and smoothing that down the ends. Then you're free to open those ends up without pulling, because that shampoo will have enough slick on it that it'll let the ends slide. And then you can get the shampoo on the hair close to the scalp. And you start from one end of your head and go all the way over to the other end of your head. And then you go from ear to ear, front to back. So you're working your way completely through. And so that gives you an opportunity to be able to get your hair and scalp clean. So that's one thing. And then Blondie also says, I noticed that my moisture levels are much better. I'm guessing I had serious buildup because I couldn't cleanse my scalp good. Well, I think that is absolutely true, Blondie. If you are not able to clean your scalp, then you're going to have flaky, dry, itchy problems of the scalp. So cleaning is important. but it's important to clean and balance. So you have to really think about that. So it's so crucial, guys, for y'all to do that. So I'm very proud of you, Blondie, and I want you to keep up the good work and keep the questions coming. If you're just tuning in for the very first time, I'm trichologist Lisa Ackberry, your hair doctor, and I'm here today talking to you about hair. We're talking about perimenopausal and menopausal and hair loss and all these problems that women are having. And I just recommended a couple of books. Let's see if I can look up Dr. Susan Larkin. Well, we've got Dr. Redmond, and his book is called It's Your Hormones. I really want you guys to read that book because under It's Your Hormones, Dr. Redmond does talk about how you have that imbalance there. And if you believe that it's dealing with menopausal problems or perimenopausal, he gives a good description of it. And he talks a lot about how you're to approach your endocrinologist and how the endocrinologist is the best choice, and just really kind of educate you. Also, I'm going to recommend my book, and I'm going to recommend Dr. Susan Larkin. Now, my book is wonderful because my book is going to teach you the categories of hair loss. So let's get that information here. Let's see if I can put that link up, and then we're going to pull Dr. Larkin's book, because her book is really good as well. So let's get my book and let's kind of talk about what my book. It's called Every Woman's Guide to Beautiful Hair. You can go to my website at lisaackberry.com and you can look up my book, or you can call my institute, and there are consultants standing by right now at 901-380-4445. So they can help you. And if no one answers the phone, if it's if it's Tuesday through Saturday, then you will be able to get someone at the institute. If it's Monday or Tuesday, Sunday or Monday, then you want to email me, Lisa at lisaackberry.com, and then I will be more than happy to help you with getting my book. I would send you a link. So I'm going to find, let's see if we can get some advice and answers. Let's see if, and I'm going to send you a link to now in my book, I talk about the two categories of hair loss. And when you're dealing with perimenopausal or menopausal problems, you really need to understand where this is coming from. And I just spoke about the internal, but the external hair loss deals with problems of the scalp as well as the hair strand. So when you're losing hair, you want to think about whether or not you're losing hair on a strand level or on a scalp level. And if you're losing it on a scalp level, then you want to make sure that you're not losing it because of external problems. And you don't want to just say that, okay, I'm losing hair and this is menopausal or perimenopausal. You have to find out. That's why I'm going to recommend my book. It's called Every Woman's Guide to Beautiful Hair at Any Age. And this tells you how you can lose hair no matter what age you are. And I'm going to put that little link there. And then I'm going to put the name of the book, and that way you can click on that link and purchase. So it's 3 books today that I'm recommending. So let's make sure that we got, I feel like my eyes are just closed the whole time of the show. But if you're on the radio, you're listening, you're not looking, right? So yeah, so there are 3 books. In this particular book, again, my book, and let's kind of go back to it. One of the reasons why I think my book is going to be helpful to you is because what I do in my book is describe several things about your hair. And then I differentiate those categories, and I break down exactly, in other words, I break down exactly what it means to lose hair externally, and then what does it mean to lose hair internally. So I've got that link up on excuse me, on the chat room, and then I have the link. I'm going to send you the link to my website. If you like to just kind of browse my website, it's Lisa Ackberry. It's Lisa Ackberry, ABARI.com. So then you'll have that link as well. Okay, so and now we want to talk about Dr. Susan Larkin's book. Dr. Susan Larkin, and let's see if we can find her. Here we are. Dr. Larkin, her book helps, and it talks about the health of the body, like some of the natural ways. She's a natural medicine practitioner. I'm a drugless practitioner. She's a natural medicine practitioner, and Dr. Redmond is a endocrinologist. Now, if you're local here in the city, I would highly recommend Dr. Beverly Williams Cleves, the endocrinologist. She gets it as well. She's excellent, but I don't have a book reference to recommend for you with her. But if you're here in Memphis, Tennessee, you should definitely see Dr. Beverly Williams Cleves. Yeah, so it's just, I think that's really important. Let's see if we can get Dr. Larkin. Okay, Dr. Susan Larkin, that's her name. And so she has a book, and the name of her book is called Before the Change. Now, that's the book that I really like for, I mean, I read that whole book. And I was interested in it as a trichologist for two reasons. One, I wanted to make sure that it was something that would help my patients, and then just for myself, you know, because we all need to know about these things. We all need to understand. Let's see if she's got I don't have a link for her. And there's something, yeah, I've got to we'll get that. I'll try to find that link in just a second, but there's a couple of Susan Larkins here. So anyways, just remember the name, Dr. Susan Larkin. It's called Before the Change. And let's just look it up under and make sure I have her name correct. But if you're here just tuning in for the very first time, thank you so much. We're just kind of having a conversation about hair loss. I think this is a pretty big deal because so many people don't understand. I think this may be it, Dr. Larkin. So many people don't understand how this affects women. It affects men as well. And yeah, that was a different person. This it affects women and men, but women tend to, I don't know, I just have a special place. Let's see if I did. Yeah, see, I keep getting a different author, and I think that I know that there was Dr. Larkin's book, Before the Change. But anyway, so if you keep seeing a different author, I'm sure that she wrote that. She was one of the first to write it. But if there's some interesting things, it talks, the reason why I wanted Dr. Susan Larkin's book is because I believe that she has a very good take on it, and she also recommends some natural approaches to that, irregular periods or hot flashes or dryness, and things like that that women really deal with, and also hair loss. So I wanted to address that. Okay, well, we're going to get off of that, and we're going to just talk a little bit more about the menopausal problems that people have. So the gist of all of this, the end of the day, if you're suffering from perimenopausal or menopausal hair loss, you really need to be sure that's what it is, because you can lose hair and within one or two of those categories. In many cases, they're categories that within those categories, you have a combination of them. Like you may have hair loss because of a certain category, but then you really have hair loss because you're suffering from both categories. So let's kind of talk about that for a minute. What are some of the five things women should know about menopausal hair loss or perimenopausal hair loss? So the other things in addition to that, some of the things you're going to have, women expect the hot flashes, the mood swings, and that occur during the change. But a lot of women are unaware, and they're not really prepared to deal with or face this whole hair loss and thinning during this time as well. After menopause, and even with perimenopausal, you've got a large percentage of women who are losing hair, and even after menopausal, they're losing hair almost at the same rate as men. So perimenopausal, you start losing hair. Hormonal changes are beginning once you have that complete imbalance where you have more of the testosterone levels higher, your estrogen levels are even lower, then you're losing hair almost at the same rate that men are losing. But unlike with male pattern hair loss, um, women usually seems to miss a lot of the early signs. They experience thinning over a wide range of the scalp. So with women, it's more diffused. It's not like one spot. So your crown is just diffused where you have the Christmas tree type parts. With men, it seems to be isolated in these little circle patches on the actual crown or lower crown, or it's in the temple area. Hair loss before, during, and after menopause, as well as after children, which is postpartum hair loss, that type of hair loss is can be really, really, really devastating to women. Now, unfortunately, hormone replacement alone does not seem to radically help this problem. Um, it sometimes even makes the problem worse. So when you think about, some will tell you hormone replacement will help. So if you think about the roles of hormones, they just as high levels of female hormones during pregnancy leave women with fuller, healthier hair, because the hormone that it takes to sustain the fetus actually adjusts or modifies or changes the hair growth cycle. The hair loss, instead of you shedding 80 to 150 strands a day while you're pregnant, you generally shed 20 to 50 strands a day while you're pregnant. But what happens when you actually have the baby, you end up losing more hair. So you have this postpartum hair loss. So that's another thing. But it's all because of those hormones. The declining levels during menopausal may have the opposite effect. In addition, when the levels of female hormones fall, the effects of androgens, that's the male hormones of the testosterone, can increase, causing certain hair follicles. Now remember, this is certain hair follicles to just malfunction. Now, this is genetic, so a lot of this depends on if the follicle is sensitive to this particular problem or if it's strongly genetically linked. What happens is the follicle progressively gets weaker. It starts that miniaturization process. Then you are beginning to get, just like with male pattern, but it is female pattern. It's a different reason than male. So don't let anybody tell you have male pattern and you're female. It happens in a different reason from men. Men lose hair in a different reasons than women. But it's still hormonal, but the hormones are doing things that are very different, because you're, as a female, you're starting out with more estrogen, and as a male, you're starting out with more testosterone. So we have to think about all these things when we're trying to decide. But like I said, never, ever, ever let anybody tell you have male pattern if you're a female. So it just depends. Your follicle has to be sensitive to that. That's why I mentioned the endocrinologist, because they can do the hormonal workup to check to see if you're balanced. Now your OBGYN or your gynecologist can do the same, but the endocrinologist will also check for other autoimmune diseases as well, because you never know if it's an internal follicular problem. You never know what's happening. But one of the things you want to do is you want to make sure that, the reason I always recommend your first visit not be to the dermatologist or your endocrinologist or your gynecologist, is, I think the first one is to your trichologist. And the reason is because what the trichologist can do, and what I do, is I basically look at your follicle under the mouth of the follicle, and the hairs that are emerging from the mouth of the follicle under the microscope. Now, there's certain characteristics that are very specific to a follicle, a that's within that hair strand that's emerging, that's growing from a malfunctioning follicle. If your follicle is not functioning well, and this is what we're doing, we're finding the category. Now, it could be hormonal, it could be some other internal follicular reason, but the number one thing is we have to know that if it's perimenopausal and it's menopausal, it's from internal. So we want to see if it's internal or external. And the signs of an internal follicular malfunctioning follicle, which may mean it's perimenopausal or menopausal, is going to show one, a villous hair. That means a hair that lacks color, that lacks the ability to obtain length, that lacks the texture. So it's going to be like a white, short, thin strand just popping up out of your scalp. And that's what the trichologist can find. Now, if your trichologist does a microscopic scan, examination of your scalp and don't find it, then most likely it's a different reason. And the other piece that we look for as trichologists when we're trying to determine perimenopausal or menopausal hair loss is we look for blockages around the mouth of the follicle. If, just say, if you go in and have an examination and you have a no villous hairs, no transition hairs, so that means no hairs that are lacking color, lacking the ability to have length, and thin, small strands, and no problem with that, then, but you have density and consistency. So the hairs per square inch are not where they should be in numbers. In other words, you look in the mirror and you see diffuse thinning, then it may be a blockage. So the trichologist also looks for a blockage. So that's really, really important. But another thing that you want to, the 5 things that women should know about menopausal, and we're just going to do 5 of them, beyond hormones, contributing factors. When it comes to menopausal hair loss, the lower female hormones might be the most common culprit, but other contributing factors may be as well be considered. The risk factor include, I mentioned, that genetic disposition. Usually levels of stress can cause it, other hormonal imbalances, some autoimmune problems like diseases like thyroidism, iron deficiency, crash diets can cause the follicle to malfunction, a sudden illness, certain medication, we call it drug-induced hair loss, and certain surgeries can cause the problem. It's pretty traumatic. Things that are traumatic on your system could cause trigger your follicle to malfunction. And so you want to detail medical history and the diagnostic tests and things like that. But before you do that, you still want to see your endocrinologist. Excuse me, you want to see your trichologist, one who uses a handheld microscope, so they can determine if you're even in that category or if it's something that's more external. In other words, it's within the mouth of the follicle. It's just not in the follicle itself. If you're just tuned inside the way the follicle malfunctions, if you're just tuning in for the very first time, I'm trichologist Lisa Ackberry, your hair doctor, and we got a pretty serious conversation going on here. We're talking about perimenopausal and menopausal hair loss, and we just really want to help you guys with that, because I think that that's been a really big deal for a lot of people. Let's see, we've got a question here or comment. It said, I'm perimenopausal, but I'm not losing hair. But my scalp is very sensitive to heavy fragrance things touching my scalp. So here's the deal. We wanted to say simply, Christy, if you are not losing hair, but you're perimenopausal and you notice your scalp is sensitive to, you said, heavy fragrance things. Let's look at what you mean when you say sensitive to it. So are we speaking of a problem with rash, redness, itchy, things like that? So let's look at what that is. I need to know what those symptoms are. When you said sensitive, what do you mean? Let's be a little more specific. That way, I will be able to tell you. You said you're having a hard time finding hair products, but let's talk about that a minute because sometimes we can. My grandmother used to call it get the cow by the tail and run with it. Sometimes we can get off on the wrong track and we believe that's it. So, right now, you're perimenopausal. Right now, you're having some problems with certain hair products. So let's see what your exact symptoms are. What are your exact symptom? Your exact symptom is itchy scalp, flaky scalp, tender scalp, rash, redness. What's your exact symptom? That way we can talk about why you're having a hard time finding products. What do you need to do about it? So let's wait and let that come through, and so you can give me those answers to those things. But in the meantime, what I want to go back to are my 5 things because we are almost out of time. And if you're just tuning in for the very first time, I'm trichologist Lisa Ackberry. You're here, doctor, and I'm live here right in New York. I'm working here with my show, and I'm here just talking about hair. I'm talking about hair, and whatever you like to talk about is released to your ear and scalp. But we're here talking about perimenopausal and menopausal. And right now, our chat line is open. And so we're getting questions from the chat line. You can email me, lisa@lisaackberry.com, or you can call my institute Tuesday through Saturday at 901-380-4445. And one of our consultants will be more than happy to help you. And let's look at some of the common mistakes to avoid when it comes to hair loss. Missing the early signs is one of the first mistakes many women make. Don't think that it's, okay, I think I'm losing hair. Okay, well, no, it's not. And yes, I'm thinking I'm losing. If you think you're losing hair, you're probably losing hair. In other words, if it looks like it's thinner, and not saying that it's perimenopausal hair loss or menopausal, it could be the other category, and I mentioned that. But a staggering 50% of loss can occur before it's noticeable to the human eye. We don't have microscopic eyes, so that's why it's so important for you, whether you have problems of hair loss at all, you should make it just a rule to see a part of your regimen to go in and see a trichologist once a year for a microscopic and physical examination of your hair and scalp, and always have that physical so they can check the hormonal levels and request that, especially if you are concerned. You just want to be a little more proactive than reactive. That's really, really important. Let's take a look, and let's see the next one as we go through our 5 things that women should really know. We're on number 4, I think. Hair loss is treatable. Hair restoration is really out there. Restoring the hair. Finding out first the category of hair loss that you are losing hair from, like if it's an internal follicular problem or external, and we spoke about those. And you can call my institute at 901-380-4445, and I'll be more than happy to set up an appointment for a hair and scalp analysis to take a look at your scalp under the microscope, do a microscopic and physical examination of the hair and scalp. Then once we find out that category, then we can determine, okay, who do you need to see? Is this hair loss that's stemming from external, maybe a scalp disease? We need to see a dermatologist. Or if you have blockages, you need to see a trichologist, be treated by a trichologist. Or if it looks internal, villus hairs, we need to see an endocrinologist. We need to know those things. Crucially important. Okay, so the final one is hair loss can have psychological effects. Now, while hair loss is often falsely thought of as merely cosmetic problems, that's most people thinking that, studies have proven that hair loss can cause a wide range of problems, psychological effects, self-esteem, confidence. Hair is, you look in the mirror, what do you see? Your face and your hair. And not that hair will define us, or if hair is it it makes who we are, because I have patients who shave their head beautifully, beautiful, beautiful, and they wear it short. But if you want hair, see, this is not about what someone says that you should or shouldn't be depressed or low self-esteem because of it. This is about how you feel about losing your hair. And so there's some things that you can do. You can do some things about it. So you want to deal with that first. How do you feel about hair? How do you feel? Do you feel like you really want your hair to be there, or do you care? You may say, well, I don't care. I shave my head. I cut it in a way, buzz it off. I guess I'll put it like that. We don't want you shaving or using straight razors or anything like that. But just cut. I wear a very low cut. So I'm not worried about hairstyles, but there are a lot of people who are concerned about those things. So I think that we have to stop ignoring the fact that sometimes hair is really important to people. Now, if you're worried about hair loss, it's important to consult your trichologist first. So if you and your stylist or your barber notice hair loss, or with women, it's you and your stylist, even your barber. You think it may be perimenopausal, or you think it may be some other category like perimenopausal, menopausal, or some other category of hair loss. We got to first see what category. So you should see the trichologist. And you can even invite your stylist to go sit in, because the trichologist, you want to use one who uses, like myself, who uses a handheld microscope, and they have a monitor in the room so you can actually see the problems, and she can explain it. And that's important. And then from there, let her recommend your endocrinologist or your dermatologist. I think that's crucial, crucial. Let's take a look and see if we have any questions. If you're just tuning in for the very first time, I'm trichologist Lisa Ackberry, your hair doctor, and I'm here live from New York. It's going to be important that you understand these things as it relates to your hair, because I tell you, it's going to change your life. Now, Simply Christy said that she's having some itching problems, and her scalp will itch very bad. Now, see, Christy, the telltale signs of external follicular hair loss is itchy scalp, flaky scalp, tender scalp. If it's any way possible, you can find a trichologist, one who uses a handheld microscope, to really, really examine your scalp. I promise you, you will really, and if you can make it to Memphis, Tennessee, if you're not in Memphis, Tennessee, that will be super duper. Or you can just go on my website, and let me give you that link. And I have something called cyber consultation, and we may be able to do a little bit of an examination and I know that I can't stick a microscope through the screen onto your scalp, but we may be able to check the density, check several things that relates to your hair loss. We may be able to see, I will be able to see you. So that would help, but that will not give you the option to have that cyber consultation. So the cyber consultation, it will not give you the option to have the microscopic examination, but I'm going to give you the link to, and I'm going to give you my number to my institute. I'm going to give you a link for the cyber consultation, and then I'm going to give you my number to the institute. So I'm going to highly recommend that you either do the cyber consultation first, or we can just have a private one-on-one talk. I can actually see your hair and scalp, and that would help, just not microscopically, but I could still see it. And then I'm going to give you my telephone number. That's going to be crucial. Guys, look how I'm squinting. I am so sorry. I am squinting so much. But anyway, so let's get that on here. And then we're going to have to end the show. So if you have questions for me, you can call me. You can get the cyber consultation. And you can go to my website, lisaackberry.com, and that will help. And then I see Christy saying she's in Tennessee, but not in Memphis. So get in that car and come on down, sister. I would love to meet you and give you a hug anyway, but I would love to help you through this, because this is going to be crucial. And then you can share this information. I mean, it's private, it's yours. We won't videotape it live. unless you want to. No, just kidding. We won't videotape it live, but we will at least find out what's going on, and then you can share with your social media friends as much, because I think that when we get help, we should share it. This is not about building up my patient load. This is more about you helping a sister out. And that's how I look at it. So let me get that link to the cyber consultation. And then I'm also going to put my telephone number there. That way you can, let's see here, make sure, and that way you will be able to, here we go. Okay, let's get that. Okay, so guys, this has been a super duper great show. I have enjoyed talking about this. If you have additional questions for me, I see some little, I see the number where I have about 4 questions in my link box up here. Let's have a tell a friend. I think we did herbal consultation. Yep, we've got it here. Go on that link and you will have it. And then of course, I have my website at lisaakberry.com, and I'm going to put my institute. It's the World Trichology STRICHOLOGY Institute. And my number is 901-380-4445. You got to come and see me. That's just make that appointment. Let's see, what did I just do there? Make that appointment and then just come and see me. Sorry about the typos, guy. Okay, guys, I'm out of time. It's been a fabulous, great show. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. And I'll see you. I'll be back in Memphis. I'm here live from New York doing my show. And I'll be back in Memphis next week. And I'll see you there. Thank you so much. And just if you have any questions about anything, send me an email. Let's see if we got time. Let's see what we've got on here. Yeah, we got some questions here. So if you had a question and you sent me under my notifications and I didn't get to you, please, please, please resend, and I'll try to remember to get to you guys. Yeah, because some good stuff there. All right, guys. All right. Love you. To God be the glory in Jesus. You know who I serve. I'll see you next week right here on Ask the Hair Doctor. Have a blessed, wonderful morning, evening, or afternoon, depending on when you are tuning in. Have a great day.